What's up, sisters and brothers? I hope that you have had a great week. I don't know what day of the government shutdown that we are in. It's been a lot longer than I think that anybody could have anticipated or did anticipate when it started, and I also think that it's become a lot more real and a lot more serious to the majority of Americans. Obviously, it is nothing but the most real thing in the world to people that are not getting paychecks, to people that are having to go to food banks and rely on emergency type services to be able to feed their families and borrow money so that they're not evicted, and all of those terrible scenarios that are playing out. And it makes me wonder, at what cost are we really doing this? I always try to look at situations as critically as possible and use my critical thinking skills. And you really wonder what's in the hearts and minds of our leaders today. Is it truly that they're standing on principle, that they believe in so much that they're willing to put so many Americans through this, so many people that work for our government? And I don't know the answer to that. But what is the real cost that's going to be paid? Obviously, on a daily basis now, you have people that are going without income, and we already know that there's so many Americans that do rely on their paychecks on a monthly, on a weekly basis. So obviously, the cost there is direct. But what other costs? What other expenses or what other costs are really associated with an action like this? And I think it's further alienating the everyday Americans, me, you, from our government. And I think that's probably not being thought about enough. But then again, I don't know how much wisdom is going on in Washington, D.C. these days. Anyway. The idea of at what cost, I think, is a really, really important thing, because you think about the choices that we make with our expenses, like the kind of car that I drive. What's the real cost of that car? And it's not the $200 a month, $600 a month, $3,000 a month that you send to pay the lease or to the bank. It goes way more than that, because there's an opportunity cost as well. So if you are buying too much automobile, for example, the real cost of that is not simply $1,000 a month that you are paying for the car. It's also the lost opportunity cost of where you could be spending that money or allocating that money in other places, like a retirement plan, for example, and losing out on the most powerful thing in the world, which is time and compounding interest and things like that. So at what cost? Really take a step back and think about, what are the true, real costs that I'm paying for these decisions that I'm making? And certainly the least favorite conversations I often have with people are about budgeting, but it's also about things like life insurance and disability insurance. And when you think about, how long could you really survive and live without your paycheck? That's a question you'll have to answer for yourself. But if you became disabled, if you got hurt, if you got sick, which exponentially, that's probably what's going to happen to people, or that is what happens to people, that they can't work, is that oftentimes they get sick. How long would you be able to go? And that's the question that disability insurance is the answer to a lot of the time. So obviously, I talk a lot about having money, having an emergency fund and a savings account, 4.5 months, 3 to 6 months worth of income saved up. But what happens if that period of time is longer than that? How would your family be able to handle that? Would they be able to handle that? And disability insurance is a potential solution to that. So, food for thought. So as we make decisions, or we don't make decisions to purchase certain kinds of insurances and coverages, at what cost? What is the cost to me, to my future self, to my family? Those are the questions that we need to be asking. So if you are impacted by the government shutdown, if you have family or friends that are impacted by the government shutdown, and I bet you do, and know that there are resources that are available out there. And I hope that you're able to tap into them, because it is a tough time for a lot of people. So anyway, make it a great Friday. I will look forward to talking to you soon.